the latest military news update. This is AFP Community News, hosted by Rofh Suzon every 12 noon, Mondays to Fridays. Only here on DWDD Armed Forces Radio. One AFP for a stronger Philippines.
8 ID treats wounded rebel, ensures dignified burial after summer clash. Army troops discover sexual exploitation of women in CPP-NPA after encounter in Capiz. COMELEC suspends preparations for bar parliamentary elections. Sumbong sa Pangulo website receives 16,000 infrastructure complaints.
Hello to everyone, especially to our troops at Camp Emilio Ginaldo in Quezon City. Today is Thursday, September 18, and this is AFP Community News, your source for the updates on the armed forces and other developments across the country. I am Rofh Suzon-Abay here to bring you today's stories.
DWDD Armed Forces News.
And for the brief overview of our news, the 8th Infantry Division provided medical care to a wounded rebel and facilitated a dignified burial for another who died in an encounter in Parana, Samar. Troops captured 2 insurgents during 3 successive clashes with remnants of the Yakal platoon, while their fatalities remains were turned over to local authorities for proper burial. 8 ID Commander Major General Adonis Ariel Orayo said the division's actions uphold professionalism and international humanitarian law. Troops also vowed to pursue fleeing rebels as the army urged the city remnants to surrender through the Eclipse program.
DWDD Armed Forces News.
Government forces neutralized a female New People's Army member in Lahug, Tapas, Capiz, where seized items included M16 rifle, ammunition, and pregnancy prevention pill. The discovery highlights the sexual exploitation of young women within the CPP-NPA, where female recruits are coerced into abusive relationships and silenced by fear. The 1st Infantry Brigade Commander Brigadier General Nel Richard Patricio condemned the practice and stressed that the insurgents wage a war on the bodies of young women while pretending to fight for the oppressed. Relatedly, the Armed Forces of the Philippines and National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict urged the youth to reject the CPP-NPA's deception, exposing the movement as a machinery of violence and exploitation rather than justice.
Armed Forces Radio.
On the other line, let us hear from Kath about AFP Opens PUSSL 2025.
Yes, Rofh, good noon. The Armed Forces of the Philippines hosted the grand opening of the Philippine Uniformed Service Sports League 2025 at the Lapu-Lapu Grandstand Camp Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City. Philippine Sports Commission Commissioner Matthew P. Gaston officially declared the games open, while Commodore Zosimo M. Bolaños Jr. represented AFP Chief of Staff General Romeo Browner Jr. 11 agencies, including the AFP, Philippine National Police, Philippine Coast Guard, Bureau of Fire Protection, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, and others will compete in 25 sports such as basketball, football, martial arts, and esports. The league seeks to foster fitness, unity, and camaraderie among uniform and public service personnel. This is Kat reporting for AFP Community News, one AFP for a stronger Philippines.
Thank you so much, Kath.
DWDD Armed Forces News.
Soldiers of the 83rd Infantry Battalion clashed with rebels in Sitio Ginobat, Barangay Bakgong, Karamoan, Camarines Sur after residents tipped off the military about enemy presence. The troops recovered M16 rifle and M203 grenade launcher at the encounter site. Subsequent clearing operations yielded a rifle grenade, ammunition, landmines, medical supplies, explosives, and subversive documents. Several soldiers were injured after rebels used banned anti-personnel landmines, but the army affirmed its operations continue with strong community support to weaken insurgent presence in the area.
DWDD Armed Forces News.
The 53rd Infantry Battalion joined the joint commencement exercise of TESDA accredited AICCAT and ZYTZAC in Pagadian City. Graduates included its personnel, friends rescued, and CAFGO members who completed agricultural training, equipping them with livelihood and entrepreneurial skills. 53rd IB Commanding Officer Lieutenant Colonel Rolando Vargas Jr. emphasized that the program symbolizes transformation, self-reliance, and hope, aligning with the government's whole-of-nation approach under EO70. The initiative strengthens reintegration, food security, and community resilience in conflict-affected areas.
Armed Forces Radio.
Let us hear more updates from MJ about Philippine Air Force reservists begin OJT with Marines in Palawan.
Philippine Air Force reservists from San Vicente and Rojas, Palawan, under the 42nd Air Force Group Reserve, started their on-the-job training at Marine Battalion Landing Team 7 headquarters in San Vicente. The training combines lectures, hands-on tasks, and exposure to unit operations to enhance their mission readiness. On the first day, they were oriented on camp rules and joined the Mulet Information Awareness Campaign on the West Philippine Sea. Notably, San Vicente Mayor Ramir R. Publico joined the training and highlighted his commitment to national defense and community service. This is MJ Blanche Carabot reporting for AFP Community News, 1 AFP for a stronger Philippines.
Thank you, MJ.
DWDD Armed Forces News.
Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro urged the functional replication of the Armed Forces of the Philippines Reserve Force during the House deliberations on the DND's 2026 budget. He stressed the need to tap civilian talents in areas like cyber defense, even if they choose not to undergo military training. Secretary Teodoro also directed AFP Chief of Staff General Romeo Browner Jr. to raise the enlistment age limit from 26 to 35 to attract more skilled recruits. The proposed 2026 DND budget stands at 295.177 billion pesos, with 282.945 billion pesos allocated to the AFP.
DWDD National
For our
News.
national news, the Commission on Elections has suspended all preparations for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao's first parliamentary election. The move is in compliance with the Supreme Court's temporary restraining order on the implementation of Bangsamoro Autonomous Act 77, reallocating the 7 parliamentary seats originally assigned to the province of Sulu. Chairperson George Garcia said the Comelec Ang Bank decided, in compliance with the TRO issued by the High Court, to suspend all preparations related to the conduct of the BARM election on October 13. With the issuance of the TRO, the Comelec is effectively barred from conducting election activities until further orders from the High Court.
Armed Forces Radio.
From NOLCOM, let's hear some information from Joanne about 4 ex-rebels surrender in Central Luzon amid peace drive.
A former New People's Army commander and 3 other ex-rebels surrendered to authorities across Central Luzon this week, marking a rapid series of defection amid intensified military operations and amnesty incentives. The series of defection began on September 13 when alias Iska, 55, a former farm organizer, relinquished a .38 revolver in Zaragoza, Nueva Ecija. 2 days later, Caros, 34, who was linked to youth recruitment network, surrendered in Mayantok, Tarlac. The week culminated on September 16 with 2 separate handovers. Alias Cagelo, 60, a former commander of the Lino Blast Command, turned over a .38 revolver, grenade, and ammunition to police in Orani, Bataan. While on the same day, Kajak, 45, a former New People's Army fighter, surrendered an improvised shotgun and a 40mm M203 grenade round to Olongapo City Police. The surrenders, spanning 4 provinces in just 4 days, underscored the growing impact of the National Task Force Whole of Nation administration's whole-of-government approach, which combines military operations with livelihood incentives, community engagement, and localized peace dialogues. Police Regional Office 3 Director Police Brigadier General Ponce Peñones Jr. called the breakthrough a testament to the power of trust building, adding that the ex-rebels are now eligible for housing and cash aid under the government's reintegrations program. According to military data, the NPA's presence in Central Luzon has dwindled to an estimated 50 active fighters, down from over 200 in 2020. Analysts attribute the decline to sustained AFP-PNP operations and disillusionments within rebel ranks due to dwindling resources. This is John Sagauk reporting for AFP Community News, one AFP for Stronger Philippines.
Thank you, Juan from Nolcom.
DWDD National News.
Parañaque is set to build the largest Kariwa store in the Philippines, which will also be home to thousands of vendors near the Redemptorist Church in Baclaran. Parañaque Mayor Edwin Olivares said the 10,000 square meter Baclaran Gateway Market will rise beside the Redemptorist station of the Light Rail Transit Line 1. The market has a twofold goal. The first is to host up to 3,000 vendors who are at risk of paying fines for illegally occupying sidewalks in Baclaran. The second goal, according to Olivares, is to make cheap produce available in the city's 16 barangays.
DWDD National News.
Later, 1st District Representative Ferdinand Martin Romualdez stepped down as Speaker of the House of Representatives. Romualdez said the issues surrounding certain infrastructure projects have raised questions that weigh not only upon him but also upon the institution they all serve. He added that the public are seeking trust and it's their duty to restore it. Romualdez emphasized that after deep reflection and prayer, he has made a decision with a full heart and a clear conscience as he tendered his resignation as Speaker.
Armed Forces Radio.
More updates from Mike. 53rd IB empowers Zamboanga del Sur youth through PCVE symposiums.
The 53rd Infantry Battalion conducted a series of youth symposiums in Zamboanga del Sur to strengthen awareness on preventing and countering violent extremism and national sovereignty issues, including the West Philippine Sea. The event gathered educators, local government officials, and soldiers to educate students about extremist recruitment tactics, the effect of violent extremism, and the youth's vital role in peace building. 53rd IB Commander Lieutenant Colonel Rolando Vargas Jr. stressed that the symposiums are about empowerment, building a resilient and patriotic youth. The initiative reflects the Army's commitment to grassroots education, civic responsibility, and preparing the next generation as active defenders of peace and national integrity. This is Mike reporting for AFP Community News, one AFP for a Stronger Philippines.
Thank you, Mike.
DWDD National News.
For other national news, the Court of Appeals has granted a freeze order on 135 bank accounts and 27 insurance policies connected to individuals and corporations involved in anomalous flood control projects. The Anti-Money Laundering Council said the freeze order came after petitions it filed last Monday, in line with the request from the Department of Public Works and Highways. DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon earlier said they requested the freezing of accounts of all the respondents of the first complaint they filed with the Ombudsman. This includes BGC Boys, the former OIC Assistant Regional Director Henry Alcantara, former OIC District Engineer Bryce Erickson Hernandez, and former OIC Assistant District Engineer JP Mendoza, and contractors Sara and Pacifico Curly Discaya of St. Timothy Construction Corporation. Dizon added that the banks that house the accounts of these respondents have already been informed about the freeze order.
DWDD National News.
The Department of Public Works and Highways has struck off 255 billion of its flood control funds. This was done in line with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s order not to grant the DPWH a flood control budget following the most controversial corruption scandal in his administration. DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon said the agency has already addressed issues and raised by lawmakers, including the presence of duplicate projects and other initiatives that were already completed the previous year. Both Marcos and the DPWH have recommended the reallocation of the funds meant for flood control. From flood control, funds could instead be redirected to agriculture, education, healthcare, housing, labor, social welfare, and information technology.
Armed Forces Radio.
And now some information from Jimboy about 14th IB warns students on CTG recruitment at SLSU Forum.
The 14th Infantry Battalion warned student leaders about the recruitment tactics of the Communist terrorist group during the Student Leaders Forum on Peace and Security at Southern Leyte State University main campus. 14th IB discussed how the CPP-NP and DF target the youth, especially in school and organization. The forum, organized with SLSU, the Department of Interior and local government, also tackled drug issue and mental wellness. The activity highlighted the role of student leaders in building resilient and peaceful communities. This is Jimboy reporting for AFP Community News. One AFP for stronger Philippines.
Thank you so much, Jimboy.
DWDD National News.
On the other hand, the Sumbong sa Pangulo website has received over 6,000 complaints. Presidential Communications Undersecretary Claire Castro of these will be forwarded to the Commission for Infrastructure. President Marcos launched the website in August to allow the public to report non-operational or anomalous flood control projects, some of which he had inspected. Castro said the first meeting of the ICI was held last Tuesday at the Department of Public Works and Highways office in Manila. The commission has also started drawing up its organizational structure.
DWDD National News.
The National Bureau of Investigation revealed that at least 7 to 8 of the top 15 contractors handling the government flood control projects share the same executives, raising suspicions of bid rigging. NBI Director Jaime Santiago said the Bureau is probing corruption in flood control projects, including those personally inspected by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Santiago said they have already coordinated with the Securities and Exchange Commission. He also added that initial findings show that some of these contractors, at least 7 or 8 of them, have interlocking directors and have the same sets of officers. Santiago declined to identify the contractors, but said the information will be turned over to the Department of Justice for case build-up.
Armed Forces Radio.
Let us hear more from Eljoy of First Year G about Mabalasik Battalion to enter anti-illegal logging drive in Kalinga.
Yes, Rofh, the 103rd Infantry Mabalasik Battalion has committed its support to the provincial government's campaign against illegal logging following an agreement reached during the third quarter provincial anti-illegal logging task force meeting at Las Vegas Hotel Dagupan West, Tabuk City. During the meeting, participants discussed the drafting of the Memorandum of Understanding that would authorize the 103rd Infantry Battalion's Delta Company to assist in anti-illegal logging operations. This endeavor is expected to empower the unit to conduct regular checkpoints in support of the task force enforcement activities. The Provincial Environment and Natural Resources Office Kalinga expressed its gratitude to the Mabalasik Battalion for extending assistance and efforts to restrain illegal logging in the province. Provincial Environment and Natural Resources Office officials said that the partnership echoes the strong collaboration between the military and civilian agencies in protecting the environment. They stressed that the initiative is timely as communities face recurring natural disasters linked to environmental degradation. Meanwhile, Provincial Environment and Natural Resources Office reported the status of the proposed military reservation in Katabugan as it remained pending at the central office, noting that the approval process typically takes 5 to 6 years before it reaches the President for signing. Provincial Environment and Natural Resources Office assured that the updates on the proposal will be provided as developments unfold. This is Meldrin Nasho Aroko reporting for AFP Community News, 1 AFP for Stronger Philippines.
Thank you, Meljoya, for CRG.
DWDD National News.
Meanwhile, a new bus stop for the EDSA busway is set to open at the SM Mall of Asia. The Department of Transportation will conduct a dry run for a new northbound bus stop at the MOA busway station to supplement the current southbound operations. The dry run will commence on September 22 until September 30. The new station will be implemented starting October 1.
DWDD National News.
With two transport groups joining protests against corruption this week, the Philippine National Police has deployed 432 vehicles in Metro Manila and other areas to provide free rides to commuters. Piston and Manibela are striking ahead of the September 21 protests over anomalous multi-billion peso infrastructure projects involving corrupt contractors, engineers, and state officials. PNP spokesperson Brigadier General Randolph Tuano said the commuters can also expect free rides provided by local government units. The Philippine Coast Guard and Philippine Ports Authority will also aid commuters who will be affected by the transport strike.
Armed Forces Radio.
From our reporter on the ground, let's hear the report of Ferdy about government 45th IB conquer Basilan Peak, former ASG stronghold.
Good day everyone. The Basilan Provincial Government led by Governor Mujib Hataman and the 45th Infantry Battalion reached the 3,186-foot summit of Basilan Peak, once a bastion of the Abu Sayyaf group. The climb symbolized unity in reclaiming former conflict zones and turning them into sites of peace and progress. 45th IB hailed the ascent as a victory of solidarity against terrorism and pledged to protect the environment. Governor Hataman affirmed that Basilan has already moved beyond its violent past, showcasing safety, unity, and readiness for growth. This is Ferdy Blues reporting for AFP Community News, 1 AFP for a Stronger Philippines.
Thank you so much, Ferdy.
DWDD National News.
Beneficiaries of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program are encouraged to register for the Enhanced Lifeline program of Maynilad and Manila Water. This is to enjoy discounted rates amid the impending increase of water consumption. Department of Social Welfare Development spokesperson Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao encouraged the 4-piece beneficiaries to register and avail of the Lifeline Rate program of Maynilad and Manila, given the expected increase in water consumption and electric utilities ahead of the holiday season. However, the subsidized rates apply only to low-income households that consume 10 cubic meters or less per month. To avail of the program, beneficiaries should present their 4-piece ID as well as a valid government-issued ID with signature and address, accomplished application form, and most recent proof of billing to any help desk or business area office of Maynilad or Manila Water.
DWDD Armed Forces News.
And that concludes today's broadcast, and thank you for tuning in, especially to our audience in AFP Radio, the DWDD's Facebook page. Be sure to join and catch us again tomorrow for more stories and updates, same time and same station. Once again, this is Rofh Suzon-Abay for AFP Community News, 1 AFP for Stronger Philippines.
Behold the latest military news update. This is AFP Community News, hosted by Rofh Suzon every 12 noon, Mondays to Fridays. Only here on DWDD Armed Forces Radio. 1 AFP for a Stronger Philippines.
Ito ang DWDD 1134 kHz AM. Balita, impormasyon at musika. Ito ang DWDD AFP Radio. Boses ng Kawal Pilipino.
Kayo ay nakatutok sa DWDD AFP Radio. Kami po ay kasapi ng KBP, Kapisanan ng mga Broadcaster ng Pilipinas.